Awesome. So, good morning, everybody. This is Marshall Seed. I am a co-founder of Ashlink Partners. I'm going to kind of be emceeing this very exciting session today. We're going to go through introductions on who's going to be presenting today. Really excited about the topic around process mining. Being in this hyperautomation, intelligent automation, and RPA space. This is one of the more emerging and exciting categories and capabilities that we're seeing in business operations. I think at the end of the day, one of the largest bottlenecks for not just automation, but transformation and continuous improvement is really around process understanding, and not just doing it kind of in a snapshot fashion, but in a continuous fashion. So we're going to go through some kind of trending topics today. So very excited to have everybody as a part of this session. So I'm going to ask everybody to do quick introductions with the caveat that I think Brandy Corbello is still joining the call, but she should be on here by the time the panel starts. So Rudy, can you kind of just get us kicked off with a quick background and introduction?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thank you for inviting me. Rudolf Kuhn, usually go by Rudy. I'm the guy who back in 2010 founded Process Code here in Frankfurt in Germany. That's where I'm based right now. And our company was acquired by UiPath in, well, actually almost 1 year ago. So in 2 days, it will be our anniversary. So, and after the acquisition of Process Code by UiPath, I'm the Vice President for Data Analytics and our Global Head Process Mining Ambassador. That's what we call it. Yeah, it's my great pleasure, to discuss today with you the role of process mining in our Hyperautomation platform.
Fantastic, Rudy. Tyler?
Yeah, hey everyone, I'm Tyler. I'm the tower lead for process mining and process discovery at Ashlink Partners. I've been doing process mining projects now for roughly 4 years. Started at 3M doing process mining in midst of their SAP transformation. And so really learned, the value of process mining, not only in terms of process transformation, but also kind of global business transformation. So I'm excited to talk about that today and share with you my experiences.
Great, thanks, Tyler. Brandy? Oops.
Brandy, are you muted?
There you go.
There we go. It kept telling me the host was muting me. Brandy Corbello, I'm a Senior Director of Transformation at Cushman & Wakefield. Really kind of leading the way in our hyperautomation journey. So excited to be here.
Great, thanks, Brandy. And I just saw that Saul dropped. So do you want to maybe give the introduction for Saul, Brandy? Oh, so I will give the introduction for Saul. So he was just on, and he must have just had some internet issues. So hopefully he can join by the end of the panel. So Saul's in Brandy's organization, also leading transformation. Part of that is automation, but part of that is broader continuous improvement and transformation as well. So hopefully he can join back. So I'm going to go through the agenda, and then I'm going to hand it over to Tyler. Really what we wanted to do is set context and set the stage around what it means to be process-centric, giving historical examples, but also talking about what infusing process mining does for an organization from an operational excellence and speed to market perspective. This is very visual type technologies and capabilities. So Tyler's going to take us through a quick example going against a widely adopted ITSM enterprise application in ServiceNow. Rudy's going to take us through the UiPath vision for process mining. So that includes process mining as a standalone capability, but how that integrates into the hyperautomation platform. And then Brandy and Saul are going to take us through how Cushman & Wakefield is leveraging process mining today. in their deal management process. And then we're going to conclude with a panel. So feel free, all participants are muted from a chat perspective, but feel free to pose questions. We've got some that we received prior to the event, but we'll try to get through as many questions in the panel as possible as well. So Tyler, over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Marshall. So yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for joining today. Appreciate your time. Today I want to talk to you about a topic that's near and dear to my heart, process mining, of course, but more broadly about how process mining can help you become a more process-centric organization. Beyond just finding new automation opportunities, it really helps drive a cultural shift in terms of how you manage your processes and manage your company overall. So I'll talk about a quick historical view of process-centric organizations, define really what a process-centric organization looks like, how to change, and then what it'll look like after you've implemented that change with process mining. So without further ado, let's get started. So history really has always favored those who focus on process, starting really with Ford and their innovation in terms of developing the assembly line and the manufacturing processes that we know today. So their vision really was one of a process that produced a specific output and could be changed slightly to produce slightly different outputs. Then we've got Bell Laboratories, which was really the first in terms of looking at a process and determining statistically if that process was in control. And they really kind of laid the foundation in terms of looking at a process from a Six Sigma perspective, though they didn't coin Six Sigma at the time. Next, we have Toyota here. Toyota is well known for their mantra of the Toyota Way, which is really a culture of continuous improvement across the entire organization. And one of the fundamental mantras of the Toyota Way is that the right process will produce the right output. So linking really that process to the output that you get from your processes. Next, we see Motorola, obviously a huge producer of phones and various technology. They were the first really to coin Six Sigma and solidify the tools and the certification process that came with Six Sigma. And so obviously they were very interested in looking at their processes from a statistical measurement standpoint, and that really helped them drive and become the leader they are today. GE then took the Six Sigma framework and applied it broadly across the entire business. They basically had a mandated Six Sigma training that everyone in the organization would take to ensure that they really had that continuous improvement mindset and could all operate and talk kind of the same process improvement language. Next, we have Dell here. Dell is really known for their lean manufacturing operations, especially in their heyday. It was estimated that at their particular locations, they would have maybe only 2 hours of inventory on hand, and across the whole company, 72 hours of inventory. And so they wouldn't have been able to do that without some sort of process focus and process measurement tools there. And lastly, our poster child for process these days is really Amazon and their ability to use technology, process, and people to drive really an amazing customer experience and extremely lean and just-in-time operations. So all of these companies, of course, are kind of towers in their respective industries and really have reached that level by using process-centric focus. But of course, we're always iterating and innovating. And so I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about what those innovations will look like today. So fundamentals of these process-centric organizations. First and foremost, all of these organizations foster this continuous improvement mindset across every level of the organization. There's an openness and there's a transparency that comes with that. Open feedback between manager and team member, and vice versa feedback up the chain to in terms of ideas that can be implemented to improve those processes. So that's a cultural shift that really needs to take place for you to reach that process-centric level. Next, there's a fundamental understanding really that output is a function of people, process, and technology. Sometimes we fall into traps of thinking that output is really just a function of people or technology, but the best organizations understand that output is the people, process, technology, the holistic approach, which needs to be considered in order to really ensure that your output is meeting standards and arriving on time. Next, we obviously, process-centric organizations have standardized, transparent, and measurable processes. Most companies, of course, have standards for their processes, but they may lack sort of the transparency and the ability to measure their processes effectively. And so process mining, as I'll talk about today, is really going to help you achieve that transparency and the ability to measure your processes. And those are key components to really being able to, be process-centric. And kind of lastly, business process decisions are made using empirical data. Of course, process mapping sessions are valuable. You get the subjective opinion of your experts in the room, but you need to really combine those subjective opinions with empirical data before you can ensure that the decisions you're making about your business process are the right ones and are going to have the desired effect. So, organizations that are process-centric are always going to look to the data to ensure that they're making the right decisions about their processes. So why would you want to be process-centric? If I haven't made the case already in terms of seeing the companies that are process-centric and the success they've had, I'll just run through a few points here in terms of what I see about what are the advantages of process-centric organization. First and foremost, you're going to be able to increase your output quantity or your quality without adding headcount. You're going to look for ways to do more with the resources that you have currently. You're going to be able to respond to change quickly and effectively because you're going to have that transparency to see when changes are happening in your process before your output is really affected. So that transparency is really going to allow you to be agile and respond to change quickly. You're going to really increase your employee engagement because everybody's going to have that feeling of responsibility for the output. Their actions are all going to be tied to the corporate objectives. The transparency, again, is going to allow employees to understand exactly what their day-to-day jobs are contributing to at the high level. So that employee engagement is really going to go up, and you're going to have, I think, much happier employees who feel a sense of autonomy and entitlement to the output that they produce. And then finally, you're really going to continue to see the new technologies that are emerging in terms of automation and continuous improvement. As you're always looking for continuous improvement, technology, again, is a core component of that. So you're going to be looking to new technologies to see how they can actually benefit you. And then this quote from, I wouldn't say my favorite coach in college football, but a coach in college football, Nick Saban, talking really about his mantra of trust the process and ensuring that the process that they have in place for their players will lead to the outcomes that they want. So he says, don't think about winning the SEC championship. Don't think about the national championship. Think about what you need to do in this drill, on this play, in this moment. And that's the process. Let's think about that, what we can do today at the task at hand. That's really, him saying that they've set up a process that will work. So, your team members, your teammates, all you have to do is think about your job at hand, and you'll get the results that you want. So as I've kind of alluded to, process mining is really going to help you in a number of ways achieve a process-centric view of your organization. First and foremost, it's going to allow you to see kind of that digital factory floor. Digital processes, of course, aren't as easily observed as that physical assembly line, but process mining really helps you to see what's occurring in your digital processes, in your back office, in your front office, from the end-to-end perspective. Oftentimes we're only privy to how many invoices we paid out in a given month, or what how many sales orders we closed in a certain month, but we don't necessarily see what led to those outputs. Process mining is going to give you that because you can see exactly what happened from start to end of your process. I also like to think of process mining as kind of a a game film for your end-to-end processes. It allows you to see, what happened, what you did wrong, what you can maybe correct in the next go. And it also really is a way to kind of create a playing field for kind of friendly process competitions. Andy Grove makes, in his book High Output Management, he makes a comparison of great companies creating sort of a playing field for their team members to encourage kind of friendly competition and increase motivation. Process mining can really help with that because you've got a real-time look at the playing field of your back office or front office processes. And then it also really enables your managers to provide real-time coaching to the team, which is sort of the other element of management that Andy Grove again kind of sees as being the key to management, is teaching and coaching your team as you go. And finally, you're really going to allow your team to see how their actions affect your global corporate objectives. So you can quickly see, if I'm taking too long in a particular incident in ServiceNow, or I've not met my deadlines for paying invoices, you can right away see sort of how that affects your overall objectives at a corporate level. And it also, again, kind of gets back to your measurable impact across the three E's of process improvement. So, so that's really how I see process mining. Beyond really just an automation tool for finding automation opportunities, it can really be used as a management tool and a corporate alignment tool to help you achieve your goals. So once you've implemented process mining, we often see really companies enter into this cycle of kind of process excellence, which we call the process excellence flywheel. And this flywheel is something that kind of continues to build on itself as you progress through it. So first and foremost, after you've connected process mining to your process, you're going to start to discover things about your process you did not know were even there. So you'll find process deviations, bottlenecks, rework. These are all opportunities really for process improvement. And so we can then take those and start to understand, what are really the value opportunities that we would have by correcting those particular deviations or bottlenecks. We assess really then kind of the value of that, and then prioritize what we're going to get done to improve our process. Next, you really enhance your process, whether that's through coaching your team, standardizing your process, optimizing it in some way, or even automating it. And so that's when you're actually making changes to the process and implementing what you believe will impact your process. Next, you're going to see, okay, what are the results of that enhancement? Did we improve the process like we had hoped to? And we're really going to be able to react then. And Rudy will talk about this today, but there's a whole new module within process mining that allows you to monitor those processes and then really react in near real time to process deviations or things that you may need to act on quickly to get that process under control. So you really start to monitor and react to your process via process mining. And then finally, you're going to go back and refine your process mining analysis, whether that's adding more events to your event log so you can gain a wider view of your process, customizing metrics, or just overall kind of going deeper on your analysis of your process, which is going to in turn lead to more discoveries, which will then again start the whole cycle over here. So that's really how we see, using process mining in kind of a continuous way to really understand how your process is working and how you can continuously improve on it. So I want to do a quick demo here now of a ServiceNow instance where we're looking at sort of a tech support company using ServiceNow. So I'll talk, I want to set the stage here in terms of what the business is. We'll take the perspective here of a sort of a medium-sized tech services company with multiple satellite locations for kind of customer support. And they're basically we're looking at our customer service and tech support processes managed via ServiceNow. And really our corporate objective, of course, is really to increase customer satisfaction and retention through our exceptional customer service. So I will take a look here and we'll take a look at this demo. Okay, so, oops. So can you see my screen still?
We can see it, Tyler.
You can see it? Okay.
Yep.
All right, great. So here's our process mining dashboard. I'm looking at our overall process here. First and foremost, the things that you'll notice are we've got roughly 4,000 cases. A case in process mining represents sort of your process unit. And so that's what's flowing through the process. We've got 20,000 events. Excuse me, let me back up. So our cases here are the incidents that are in our ServiceNow instance. And so we're looking at a single month of May 2019, we've got 4,000 incidents. We've got 20,000 events and 18 different activities, 400 different ways that those activities actually get done in 197 different users. So I'm going to take the perspective here of really a manager of one of these satellite locations, and I want to make sure that my location is meeting SLAs in terms of incident resolution, and then understand sort of what we can do to make that better. So I'm going to jump right away to my conformance tab, where I've actually set up tags to monitor SLA violations, as well as things that are maybe undesired sort of business process elements. So here I can go and I'm going to change my pivot table to location, so I can see all the different locations that are being monitored. And then I can see my specific location, which would be location 93 here. So I can see I'm doing pretty well compared to the rest of the other locations in terms of how many tags I've been tagged with. So I want to drive my tag number down. That's going to mean that I've got fewer SLA violations and fewer sort of inefficiencies in my process. And so I'm going to just pick on location 93 for right now, and then I'm going to break that out even further by my team, so I can see exactly how many tags are my team members triggering in terms of what's going on there, and figure out maybe who needs some extra coaching or some extra help to really meet those SLAs. And so right now I can quickly kind of see that my resolver number 15 is carrying a lot of the load in terms of tags. So let's see exactly what tags he's violating. It looks like 15 violations in an SLA, and had to reassign the ticket multiple times in seven different instances. So that could mean a couple things. Either the people in front of this resolver are not understanding that this guy is the guy to go to resolve these types of issues, or there's just there's some sort of process problem here where we're not getting the ticket to the right person right away. So we can kind of break that down even further to understand maybe there's a specific category where these violations are occurring, or there's multiple reassignments. So I'm going to filter even further here on my multiple reassignment area to see. It looks like maybe category 53. So this is an opportunity now to look at it with the whole team to say, okay, category 53, whatever that may be, some sort of specific tech issue. This category 53 should maybe come to resolver 15 right away, rather than being passed around across your organization multiple times. And so that's kind of just a quick view of maybe a coaching tip that you can give to your team to quickly kind of remedy these sorts of issues. And I think I'm going to call it there, because we've got plenty more to get through today, and I want to leave plenty of time for my co-presenters here. So I'm going to hand it over now to Rudy to talk a little bit more about the UiPath roadmap and where we want to go with it. So Rudy, I'll run the slideshow for you if you want to just let me know when you want to switch slides.
Yeah, sure. So guys, before we jump into the roadmap, I would actually like to talk about, about our Hyperautomation platform. So please go to the next slide, Tyler.
Okay.
You know, the way we look at process mining, for us, really, process mining is nothing that should be isolated, but it's really a very important part of our hyper automation platform. So before we as Process Go joined UiPath in October last year, there were only 3 boxes. You know, the blue one, build, manage, and the red run box. So without any doubt, UiPath is the leading company when it comes to building, managing, and running our attended, unattended, or our new task bots. Really great stuff. But as Tyler pointed out, you know, many customers are struggling with the question, okay, what kind of process do we have, or how are the processes run? What should be automated, in what order, and what's really going on? And that's why UiPath acquired Process Code along with another company. And right now, you know, we have more than just one product. We have actually 4 different products in the discovery box. So we have Automation Hub. Automation Hub basically is like a social network where everybody who is actively involved in the process or working in the company can propose automation ideas. We have Task Capture. Task Capture is like a little agent sitting on your desktop, and you tell the agent, you know, to actively look over your shoulder while you are executing a task or a process. It will record whatever you do. It will take screenshots. And after you finish, it will give you a complete process definition document, which makes it much easier for the people to automate. And you can export, you know, this recording like a macro already to our studio and, you know, complement the bot with some AI or some document understanding and really get it up and running very fast. And then we have process mining and task mining. And the difference between the 2 mining products really is that process mining is using data from the backend systems, like SAP or any other, you know, the big milestones. And task mining is rather looking into the front end of applications. Because if you think about systems like like for example, Excel or email or PDF, unfortunately, these applications are not creating any digital footprints we can really use for process mining. But if you think about the process, then these applications are also involved in the process. So that's why we are, you know, taking data from the back end and from the front end. We are combining them. And I will show you now how this will look like in the future. So we better understand the entire process end to end, so we can better automate. But we don't stop there. I mean, in your flywheel, you talked about using process mining also for the measure part, because of course, after we have improved the process, and you know, let's be straight. I mean, RPA is just another way of improving the process. You know, as a former consultant, I can think of many other ways how a process can be improved. But RPA is a great one. But of course, we want to understand the impact of RPA on the process. So this is why we use process mining in the measure part, as you can see at the end in the blue box. And with our latest release now, we can even, you know, again, connect process mining with our action center, because we don't want to stop with observing that something is going wrong. We really want to react on it. So for me, you know, the perfect combination of the tools really is process mining for the diagnosis and RPA as a treatment. And only if diagnosis and treatment really comes together in the right way, you can be successful in the long run. And on the next slide, Tyler, this is now really focusing on the positioning of process mining. So we start process mining for the understanding of the process, of the real processes, because there's a difference between what people will tell you in a workshop and what the process really is. I can tell you, you know, from experience, and everybody's smiling, so you know what I'm talking about. And, you know, after we understand what's really happening, we can automate, then we can monitor, and then we can react on it. And yeah, I don't know if we have the time, but you know, I can show you how this reaction actually looks like. How this really works. But I think for that I need to share my screen. So I think you need to stop. Right. Let's go. All right. So, well, you have already seen our application. You know, it's browser based. We run on premise. We run completely on in the cloud, whatever you prefer. So this is a very simple invoice approval process. You know, the full complexity. So the happy path actually looks like this. Very simple: receive invoice, process invoice, find check of invoice. Then of course we should approve the invoice, and then at the end we pay the invoice. And if we add more activities, we can see what else is going on here. And if we add all edges, we will discover that we might have some compliance issues because some cases are bypassing the approval step. But right now I'm looking at all data from October, and I have a bookmark here really to focus only on the last day of October. And on the last day of October, we can see that we have one case where the approval step, the mandatory approval step, for some reason was bypassed. And that's not okay. You know, that shouldn't happen. And there's a difference on how we transform, how we work with the data. So with our RPA, or with our process mining platform, we connect directly to the sources, we extract or we read the data, and we perform this whole data transformation internally. And you are already talking about the conformance check and the tagging. So we can use, for example, once we identify any type of issues with tagging, like for example, approval is missing, now we can trigger directly through our action center. We can notify the people, or we can trigger some bots. And let me show you how this works, but I just realized for that I need to log into my orchestrator so we can see the outcome. So yeah, you know, this is live. Okay, I am now in my action center, and yeah, that's the action list, the to-do list I really like because it's empty, so nothing to do. That's great. Now I go back into my demo, and because typically we transform the data every night or every hour. It depends on your use case. But we don't have the time to wait until tomorrow. So what I will do, I go to a specific page I set up, and we have this create queue item button. So, normally nobody would push this button. This would happen automatically every time we transform the data and we update the data set. But for presentation purposes, I can trigger this now manually. And when I click on it, the system now created this action item. And when I go back into my orchestrator and I refresh my page, I will see that a few seconds ago, when I pushed the button, this one item was created. And the title is invoice approval missing. Oh, that's not good. So what can we do about it? When I click on it, first the system will show me some of the data, the master data from the case we just discovered. So we can see the case ID, who is responsible for it. It's only a small invoice, and I know the supplier. So yeah, basically that's fine. But still, before I approve it, I want to see the invoice. So this is just a dummy, just for presentation purposes. I can click on open in web, or this could be an invoice document management system. So I can see the invoice and I say, hey, okay, that's fine. We can pay that one. So I go back, and now if I click on open in SAP, then nothing happens. Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I'm not a manager here, so I need to assign this task to myself so I can work on it. Now the buttons are activated, and if I would click on open in SAP, then basically SAP would come up, I would see this case, and I can do this approval manually. But again, I want to save this time because that's just boring to do that. So what I can do, I can simply click on approve. And if I click on approve, I will trigger or send the bot actually to approve this invoice for me in my name, with my credentials. I do that. And all I need to do is now to confirm that this action is completed now. I do that. I come back to my list and it's empty again. That's what I like. Well, unfortunately, we don't see the update in our process mining, because this update will, first we need to transform the data and run it again. But tomorrow, we would see that probably after we paid the invoice, we approved the invoice afterwards, but still the data is correct. Yeah, and that's one way how we are integrating our process mining functionality in the whole Hyperautomation platform, because we really believe that we need diagnosis, we need treatment, and we need to empower everybody who is actively involved in the process with a functionality like that. So if you are responsible for some cases, you simply deserve to know what's going on, because only if our employees are informed, they will be motivated, they can then have a positive impact on the process. So that's why we make this technology available for everybody who is really actively working and involved in the process. Yeah. It was just a quick presentation on how we integrate.
Awesome, thanks, Rudy.
Oh yeah, right. But you wanted to know something about the future, right? About our roadmap. So can you share the slides again?
Yes, sir.
Thanks. Good. Next slide, please. Yeah, that's what I just showed. So the next slide will show you that, for example, we have these dashboards, for example, with SLA violations. And if I see that we have 130 SLA violations, I mean, that's great that we were able to reduce the number, but in future, we don't want to see any SLA violations, so not too fast. So what we can do, we can use the tagging and whatever functionality we have really to notify people in the action center to automatically trigger bots to take care of the problem. So this is how we close the loop, from understanding, automating, monitoring, and down to reacting.
Mhm.
But one thing we are working on for the future, and that's the next slide, we really want to combine process mining and task mining, because only if you understand how processes are supported in the back end and in the front end, you can really, automate them. So if you go to the next slide, please, we can see that on the left, we have the process. And based on the dark, shading of the color, you can see that process invoice, for example, in this case, or in this process, is our bottleneck. So we really need to speed it up. And before we can speed it up, we first need to understand how process invoice is really run. So you see on the right, please select the task on the left to visualize its execution. So Tyler, if you please click on process invoice, right, the system will show us actually, process invoice is the big milestone, the big task. And now we see the sequence of actions, what is happening in the front end. So we are visualizing the backend process and the front-end execution in one application. So we see that there are actually two different variants or two different ways how process invoice can be done. So that's the first one. You see the screenshots, you see the applications, but there's a second variant. So if you please click on variant number 2, the system will show us that, these are fewer cases, but the process is much more efficient. And if this is what I want, if this is what the bot I would like to create, what I can do, I can simply click on Export to Studio. It's on the left, on the right bottom, this little icon, and the system, don't do it now. So it would actually export the skeleton for this bot directly to the studio. And again, I can start to build my bot, by adding more functionality, maybe it's a little bit more intelligence, document understanding, whatever. So this is on our roadmap. We have process mining. It works fine for a couple of years. We have task mining, will be released soon as general availability. But really in future, we are looking into an integration of all the tools. And this is just one of the items, of the big items on our roadmap for better understanding and for better management and monitoring of processes.
Awesome. Well, I think up next we have our friends from Cushman and Wakefield talking about their process mining journey. So Solomon, Brandy, take it away.
Yeah, I'll kick it off for us, Tyler. Rudy, I'm probably going to be sending you an email asking about when these releases are coming. You're exciting. You can go on to the next slide. So I'm just going to quickly talk about Cushman Wakefield's hyperautomation journey, and then I'm going to turn it over to Salman, who's really been kind of the leader in the force kind of behind our process mining journey and really executing that in our first use case with Tyler and Rudy. So really, like if I rewind on where we started, our hyperautomation program started last April, and really doing a proof of concept with our business. And they were excited, they approved that business case, and it was really RPA focused. So then kind of going down the year, we started doing some education throughout the organization on what hyperautomation was and how it could help the business, which continued to expand our business case. Coming out of that, we really needed to engage with a strategic partner. So that's when we got engaged with Ashling, and standing up, a partner to help us scale, as well as think about, how do we scale, net new, but then also maintain what's in production or what's going to be going into production as we grow and velocity upticks. So that was at the back half of last year. And then really, we had to define what a center of excellence looked like and what that meant. And we kind of closed out what does framework and governance look like. And that was really to support scale and velocity, as well as like what does our infrastructure look like and how do we ensure that we can support acceleration. So that was like back half of last year, front end of this year. Now, once that was stood up, automation kind of started taking off for us. I think we keep Aisling busy, we keep ourselves busy. But then, then the conversation has now turned into, at the second half of this year, is how do we broaden this, right? It's not just about RPA, it's about process. And, we've got a few exciting things going on. So in July, we did our first process mining pilot with a smaller process, just to see like how it would work and like what it would look like, and how we could really put a strategy together around that. And then right now, Salman and Tyler have been working on putting a bigger process in our organization through kind of process mining, and Salman's going to go into that a little bit. It's actually a really exciting one for us in the commercial real estate space, and it's really impactful, across our organization and even in our industry. So I think it's a good use case, and it's probably different, which is exciting, and it has a lot of opportunity inside of it. And, I think even part of this too is we've started bringing in machine learning. So I think about all the different things we've brought into the program and how they all like interlay together, and it's been really exciting to watch like the puzzle pieces kind of come together and watch the program broaden as we really look at process mining as a part of that as well. So our program has quickly aligned to our organization's strategic goals, which kind of foster exceptional client experience, delivering operational excellence, focusing on people and culture, and then making sure we're leveraging data and analytics to make more informed decisions. So all of these things that we're talking about kind of feed nicely into all of the strategic objectives of Cushman, but our objectives for process mining, as we thought about the strategic lens and how we want to broaden it, it's an evidence-based approach as we look at the processes that support, revenue in our business. It really, focuses on operational excellence by, I think Rudy and Tyler both mentioned this, the business thinks the process works one way, but you actually quickly learn it probably could work 1,000 different ways. So how do you encourage operational excellence through like the use of the insights that you gain from this, and then really, continuous improvement? I think the bigger thing for us, and I talk to Salman about this all the time, is how do we monitor continuous improvement? We're going to see where we need change. And then, the biggest thing coming out of this is we'll actually see that improvement was made because we do have that evidence kind of behind it from the system. So I am going to turn it over to Salman, who's going to go through our use case, but high level, just wanted the group to understand our journey and, where process mining fits in. And we're really excited.
No, thank you so much, Brandy. And again, apologies on the earlier internet connectivity issues. I did not expect it to cut out, but as we all know, with Murphy's Law, it rears its head in less than ideal situations, right? But by way of really quick introduction, I'm a senior manager within the Cushman & Wakefield Intelligent Automation Transformation Team under Brandy Corbello. I'm going to talk a little bit about our use case that we've partnered with UiPath and Aisling to help deliver around deal management. And so from a background perspective, deal management, it really encapsulates the entire real estate deal transaction, in the case of a lease execution. So inclusive of it's all inclusive of really like the bid pipeline phase, deal execution, all the way through to closing and reporting within a CRM system. So in our case, Salesforce. And so as we embarked on our review and our assessment of deal management, we found that it was a prime candidate for process mining, right? So it had a very large user base, user population in excess of 1,000 FT. It was across multiple service lines, roles, and geographies, and it was fairly fragmented from that standpoint. And as you can see as well, we had very high aggregate support costs to help support the entirety of the life cycle of this process. And so, during Brandy and my discussions with appropriate business process SMEs, we received feedback. There's a lot of different issues that plagued our process, right? They primarily centered around process delays, concurrent duplicative efforts, and just limited insight and transparency into the entire process lifecycle. If that wasn't enough for our key issues, the Salesforce system data also presented some challenges, and that some noise existed in the Salesforce system data due to inconsistent deal entry. And what I mean by that is that folks are inputting deals in different stages during our pipeline process with really limited discipline. So, this data quality issue coupled with very limited current state operational KPIs were hurdles that we were going to need to overcome. And so, with all of this information, we knew that issues existed with this process, but we didn't know exactly where to begin with it. Right. So a traditional approach would be to, conduct, extensive current state process discovery sessions across all of the different stakeholders, the different service lines. But when you start to weigh the benefit of that against the option of using a tool like process mining, it becomes almost a no-brainer, right? So in using the process mining platform, we're able to distill those objective process insights that Brandy and Tyler and Rudy have talked about in a very short period of time, using really only the tool, a high-level process understanding and connecting into our system. And in this case, using the Salesforce system logs. So, how did we begin? You can kind of take a look and you can see we have a high-level process flow above, and it was really on defining our scope. You can see that we actually have 9 different deal management stages within Salesforce. And as I alluded to earlier, with the variation in how users interact with deal entry, we found that, in order to mitigate this issue, let's focus on a subset where we believe, based upon policy and business stakeholder feedback, that all deals are going in or have to be in the system, at least in stage 4. And so, little did we know that this assumption was not entirely true, but we'll get to more of that a little bit later. And so, once we have identified that particular scope, we really needed to work with multiple parties. So Tyler helped us engage with, our IT department. We were working in concert with UiPath in really trying to understand from a very high level the process, fulfill all of those technical requirements and infrastructure requirements upfront, connect to Salesforce and extract the data and transform it. And when I say we did that, I really mean Tyler was doing that. So he's done a fantastic job with it. But then really, once you're able to extract that data, then the fun begins for our team, where we can start going in and forming hypotheses and reviewing the output. But one really important point I want to emphasize here is that we were able to do all of this initial discovery without having to conduct those extensive and time-consuming current state process workshops. So that was really invaluable and a significant benefit for us as a digital transformation team, of being able to sell this to the business. So once we had the data, now what? Right, we start forming those hypotheses, and we're taking a look at the different process variants, the different deviations from that happy path. We are, identifying the associated parties and roles that are responsible for some of those variants, responsible for some of those process delays or choke points that we see. And so it's really challenging some of those initial assumptions that we had. In reality, seeing throughput for a particular approval taking 10 days for a particular approval versus what was expected was, we're expecting an outcome of less than a day for it. And how I was talking a little bit about deal entry being required by stage 4 and progressing through. Well, we discovered that was false, right? So we found a variant in the process where folks were actually going in and inputting in stage 6, which is a violation, one, of our initial assumption, but more importantly, it's a violation of one of our SLAs and one of our policies that we have internally. And this is something that we would not have been able to know without leveraging the process mining insights that we're able to gather. So we equipped ourselves with these reality-based, metrics and process flows, and now we're able to bring those insights to bear in conversations with the business process owners, which was incredibly powerful. And after you have those insights, what do you do with it? I think Rudy alluded to this earlier, that you can gather all the data and all the analytics that you want on a process, but you need to be able to affect it. You need to be able to impact it. And to do that, we corroborated with the business process owners to identify what are those levers that we can push and pull, and what are the priorities that we have as a business. And so, after determining what are those specific improvement opportunities, we really, and this is to Brandy's point, we want to see what's the performance lift or efficiency gain that we're going to achieve from some of these lifts, right? If we choose to automate components of that deal entry process, we want to see what impact it's going to have on our data accuracy, right? We want to see that, deals are being input in stages 0 to 3 versus 4 to 6. And so, I think just kind of bring it all together, ultimately, in a matter of, almost days, we were able to get these objective, comprehensive current state process insights, which, traditionally in traditional consulting, these are things that take weeks and potentially even months, given process complexity and the fragmented user base. So with that, where are we going now? What are we going to do with process mining? So we're currently focused on building out a solution roadmap with some of these business stakeholders. We've helped identify those improvement opportunities and have it validated by the Salesforce data. This isn't, we're also focusing on, Brandy had talked about alignment to enterprise objectives of continuous improvement and operational excellence, and performance measurement is a big key to that. we need to ensure that this is not a single point in time exercise, but an ongoing focus of understanding where we are today and where we're going, right? So, what is the impact of our initiatives, right? Be it automation, be it process improvement, be it training implementation or policy adherence. We want to see how we're doing against these measures. And so, we view process mining as really a platform that we're looking to expand into other high profile, high priority business cases across the enterprise. And it's truly given us a window into our current state and really accelerated our process understanding without really being invasive into our standard business operations. So this has been a very powerful tool that we have at our disposal now. And so, with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Tyler and Marshall.
Awesome. Thank you, Solomon and Brandy. So I think we are at the point where we are ready to do our panel discussion. So I think we've got some questions online as well as a few pre-taken questions. So Marshall, do you want to moderate?
Sure. No, a very powerful story, Brandy and Solomon. Appreciate you guys sharing that. I think a lot of people can learn from that. I'm going to go through some of the real-time questions we're getting streaming in right now, and then we can go to some of the ones that were sent prior. So first question for the CW team. So Brandy and Solomon, it sounds like you were roughly 2 years into your RPA journey. Do you have resident experts in your organization, or are you relying on a partner like Ashling to do development, scale? I think this is really about how long you've been on your journey, and then how are you building your internal competency as well?
Yeah, I'll take this one. So our journey's really only been a year long, if you think about it. So we started last February, but it was more of an introduction and spending time like just educating our executive team and getting buy-in across the organization. Once we had that and we had like true business value that looked tangible and the business could sign up for, we started like kind of building out the team. Now, building out the team meant, and Ashling was a part of this, building out our infrastructure to scale. So that was the first thing. The second thing, which a lot of people miss, is what does your support model look like on day one, right? Like people usually don't start thinking about that until after year one. And we thought about that on day one. And we're finding that we're not having like conflicting schedules, if you will, or like having to conflict priorities with our resources because of that. And I think that was a big deal for us. Our team internally is not developers. Our team internally is actually process analysts, and they're tagged to business units. And it's really helped us, make sure that our business partners throughout the organization have somebody that knows their business from a process standpoint, but then can also interpret what the right solution is and be solution agnostic.
Yeah, no, appreciate it, Brandy. I maybe just to kind of add to your response, just because I've obviously got intimate experience in how Cushman has approached their transformation program. I think what you guys have done so effectively is you've gotten the business constituents and stakeholders to kind of really lean in on things like process mining, right? And I think that's powerful in its own right, but it's allowed people to kind of feel like you're sitting in their business, their business, so you're going to properly prescribe. Rudy kept on using the term diagnosis, right? And the old saying goes is don't prescribe until you've diagnosed, or else that's malpractice. And I think you guys have done a fantastic job, and that's come through some of the trust that you guys have built through your business analyst team. So really appreciate that. The next question, I'm gonna take one that was pre-written or pre-sent. So this is also for Brandy and Solomon, and I think you guys, Solomon, I think you did a pretty good job of hitting this one already. But how has this helped your automation program in the current state, and how do you view this bigger than just automation, beyond automation, and more transformational from a process mining capability perspective?
Solomon, I'll let you take this one. It's your baby.
You're muted.
Here, this should be unmuted now.
All right, can you guys hear me now?
There you go.
All right, great. No, if I could draw from maybe one of those cliche consulting phrases that we used to throw around quite a bit, we view process mining as the tip of the spear, right? So this is going to provide us with those deep process insights that we can take out to the business, right? So one of the challenges that you have, and I think Brandy's done a fantastic job of standing up this program, but it's beating that inertia around change management, that you have to provide education and awareness on your different the different products within your technology stack, the value prop associated with it. for process mining, this is taking an existing process and beating that inertia that folks have with, understanding what's the value proposition, right? So, you're able to get those deep process insights. You're able to really accelerate that speed to delivery and do this in a non-invasive manner. I think that's what makes it so exciting about the prospects that we have of deploying those additional use cases internally. I know that this is one where we're making a foray into one of our specific broker and market support business service functions. We're looking to take this to other associated areas within the enterprise too. But this provides essentially that ammunition that you need in those conversations for automation or for efficiency gains, and really lining back up to your enterprise objectives of operational excellence and CI.
Absolutely. No, appreciate that, Solomon. So to your comment on the C-level, just a quick response to one of the questions. Yes, we will provide this video to everybody so that you can position this however you deem fit, however it's valuable. Another question for the CW team. So I'm kind of emptying the CW chamber here. Do you find yourselves focusing more on larger end-to-end processes, or are you seeing this as more of a bottoms-up approach for your organization? And I think that's specific from a process mining perspective.
I would say we're looking at end to end, and we're focused on, for us, like from a strategic lens, processes that we spend a lot of resource, time, and money on, and are actually really meaningful to our bottom line, meaning they drive or support high margin for us. And what does that mean? Because for us, it's about selling to the executive team, right? The executive team wants to see what are the things that are driving the most value as a process, number one, and number two, how do we make them more efficient, right? So how do you gain more margin out of those processes? I think bottoms up is an important part of a strategy. It's not going to happen until I think we have our arms around the bigger processes that support our business.
Sure. No, it's an outcome-driven approach. I love it. Hey, Rudy, I've got one for you here. So can you help the audience understand when you're prescribing process mining over task mining? And I know that you kind of talked about the combination, but it seems like there's a lot of questions coming in about that, actually.
Yeah, process mining really is let's say more like the helicopter view. So you really look from high altitude, you really look at the entire process based on the big milestones you find in the systems. And task mining probably is more like the magnifying glass if you really want to know that the biggest details or the process, the steps, the actions that actually create an activity, in the highest possible resolution and detail. So, for the big overview, process mining is great. So with process mining, you can basically discover what should be automated. And when you take task mining or task capture and you look really closer to the activities, then you can find out how to automate. So process mining, what to automate, and task mining, how to automate. And the combination really, brings the biggest value.
That's helpful, Rudy. Appreciate it. Tyler, I'm gonna send one to you here, and then we'll ask kind of a broader visionary question amongst the panel, and then we'll call it a day. So from a potential use case perspective, maybe leaning on your 3M days, what are some other use cases that are more horizontal that a lot of other large enterprises can learn from?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course, the big ones are order to cash, purchase to pay, accounts payable, accounts receivable. Some of the other ones, though, that I think are really powerful and ones that we kind of used at 3M were production execution and production planning. Really helping to make sure that your planners are setting the right schedules for your production execution. If you're a manufacturer, of course. We also looked a bit at sort of deal management and point of sale. A lot of times we needed to collect point of sale data and make chargebacks to our distributors. And that was a really powerful model that we used to really understand how that process was working, how much kind of workload really that whole team had to help kind of alleviate some of those processes. So, supply chain is rife with opportunities for process mining. And I'll say, again, financial sectors too, credit applications, banking, there's all kinds of processes where we look that can really be mined and useful in process mining.
Absolutely.
I would like to chime in here. You can think about process in two different ways: core processes and support processes. and digitized processes or fully digitized processes or physical processes with data attached to it. You know, if you think about a company like Porsche, maybe you heard about them, you know, here in Germany, they build these nice cars. So it's a production process. They have to move around a lot of atoms to make money, but there's a lot of data attached to it, but still it's a physical process. But if you think about, let's say, a trading process or know your customer process in a bank, it's all data. If it's all data, there's a lot of, you know, content and really, you know, food for us and food for process management. It's a lot of data we can work with. So if you find core processes and these core processes are fully digitized, that's perfect. Then we can deliver the highest value. And of course, we need to have data. Without data, there's unfortunately no process mining.
Yeah, no, that's a good delineation there, Rudy. I'm gonna keep it with you. We're gonna kind of wrap to respect everybody's time. So just in general, what does the future hold for process mining?
Well, from our point of view, really, you know, a very, very seamless integration into our Hyperautomation platform. I really believe that every process that is digitally supported and every system that is supporting processes in a digital way, one day will be analyzed with process mining, because it's the only way really to get the transparency we need, the only way we can react on any type of issues. And, you know, the traditional way I was doing for many years, talking to people, we will not replace it, but we will completely change the way we run these workshops. You know, in the early days, I asked people, please tell me how does the process run? Today, I walk back into the same workshop and I already know what the process is. And I ask the people, why is it like that? You know, from how to why. And it's a totally different story you have. So what we see for the future, very seamless integration. We are moving into more, you know, taking the data, doing process simulation, maybe even redefining the processes before we automate. So there will be more of that. And also, you know, stuff like predictive analytics, because if we know from the past what can go wrong, then we can already predict the outcome of certain processes or cases before, you know, sorry for my French, before the shit hits the fan. Mm-hmm. So we can really see, okay, this will never be finished in time, and we want to wait. We don't want to wait until it's too late. We can react, you know, in time and prevent the problem.
Sure. Tyler, same question over to you before you jump into that. Brandy, appreciate you answering online here too. If we don't get to your questions, we'll send out a summary email as a follow-up as well, just with responses. Mm-hmm. So Tyler, what does the future hold from your perspective?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with a lot of what Rudy said. You know, it's going to be tighter and tighter, sort of integrated with your process in terms of being able to react in real time. And I see, you know, really process mining integrated even more with machine learning and making predictions. I think process mining exposes data sets in a way that are sort of unique and that can really, I don't think they've fully been leveraged yet in machine learning, looking sort of at process order and process timing to make predictions then about what will happen in an open case of your process. So I really see that being a huge opportunity and a huge, I think, direction for process mining to go, is really pairing again with that machine learning and artificial intelligence to make predictions about your process before you have an issue at the output.
Right.
Yeah,
okay, guys. I think we don't have the time to answer all of the questions. So I would invite everybody who would like to follow up. You know, let's connect on LinkedIn, or you can send me an email simply at rudy@uipath.com. Very easy, and then happy to come back to you and answer your questions, because I see some questions, but we don't have the time really for it.
Yeah, probably should have started with the panel. They're really flowing in now. So just to give Solomon and Brandy kind of an opportunity to answer that question, I know you guys referred to that, and then we'll call it a day. Brandy, what do you think the future holds for the process mining capability, not just at Cushman, but I guess in the market?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll add on to what Tyler was saying. We're starting to bring machine learning model even into our process automation that was traditionally rule-based, right? So how do you make that more dynamic using machine learning and being just a little bit more predictable or more dynamic in decision making? So to Tyler's point, I do see machine learning kind of playing a role to give us predictability about our business. And you know, if this fails, right, like what does that mean, not just to the process, but to the organization, right? What does that mean to the bottom line if this fails, or if it, you know, upticks and we don't have the capacity to like maintain, right? What does that mean to our bottom line? I think is going to be really important as you look forward. You know, I think the bigger thing, you know, for services companies, you know, or the services industry, I think product has always been really good at KPIs and measuring operational performance, but I would say services has always been lacking, right? Like there's hardly KPIs. So how do you actually think about your true operations in the services industry? And, you know, given the current environment and kind of coming out of it, really starting to measure yourself on services and operations to provide those services, I think will be a huge as well.
Love it. Outcomes, not inputs.
Yeah.
Solomon, you want to bring us home?
Yeah, certainly. No, I'm kind of going to be parroting and echoing what Tyler, Rudy, and Brandy have covered off on, right? But it, you know, more tightly coupled within our intelligent automation program. And really look, right, at our core, we are focused on process improvement within the digital space, right? I view this as a staple tool within our toolkit, right? This is a feeder into associated process improvement initiatives, but also within our automation pipeline specifically, right? And the real eye opener for me has really been the speed to value that we've gotten through process mining. So I'm looking forward to, like Brandy was saying, I'm looking forward, Rudy, to the additional releases and the enhancements that are coming. But no, I think this is certainly going to be a foundational component within digital transformation programs moving forward.
Thanks, Solomon. I appreciate it. And thanks for everybody for joining. Appreciate you holding on for a couple additional minutes. We will send out some information, try to answer any questions we didn't get to today. But yeah, stay in touch with us. We'll continue to do more of these sessions as this fast-paced industry is quickly evolving. So appreciate the panelists for joining and appreciate all the attendees for attending.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good day.
Thank you guys. Have a great day. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye.